Hello everyone and welcome to the first class of Teacher Nolan's online English resource. I'm happy to present to you today an interesting article about the history of the English language. It's so great to meet you. Before we begin, let me go over the steps of understanding this article and using it to its fullest ability. First, I will read the article to you aloud. Please listen for comprehension as well as pronunciation so that when you go to read it yourself, you can better speak the words that are being spoken. You may pause the video to read aloud by yourself. Try to listen to see if your pronunciation matches mine. If there are words that you find difficult to pronounce, listen to the video again so that you ensure you are saying it correctly. After you are finished reading, we will discuss the article. I will ask some questions. If you have time, pause the video so you can think to yourself how to answer the question. I will give you my opinion on the question if it is a short answer style question. If it is a factually based question from the article, I will give you the correct answer based on the reading. Finally, you'll be able to test your knowledge with the attached document. In the attached document, you will find the reading article, important vocabulary, discussion questions, and a quiz at the end to test your knowledge of the article. The answer key is also at the end of the article so that you can ensure you are answering the questions correctly. So here's our reading. Today we will be discussing the English language and its history. It all started around 700 BCE. This is where the Latin language first began being spoken by the Roman people of Italy. Many of the Western languages, including French, Spanish, and Italian, were formed from Latin. When people moved to England, they took Latin with them and formed English from it. This is why it is called English. When England took over America, they took English with them. When America became free from England in 1776, the language began to change. Today there are two common dialects of English. They are England English and American English. Some of the vocabulary words and grammar patterns can be different between the languages, but they are mostly the same. Today English is spoken by a lot of people worldwide, making it one of the most spoken languages. At this time, if you have the free time to read the article yourself, go ahead and do that now. Now we will begin the discussion questions. You will notice these discussion questions are not inside the extra article that is provided to you. These are merely discussion questions from the article to see your own comprehension level based on the reading. About how many years ago did the first language before English begin being spoken? From our article, we found out that Latin began in Italy at approximately 700 BCE. This does not mean that it began exactly in 700 BCE, but around that time period, we believe, is when Latin began being spoken. Fast forward to 2024, which is the current year. So if we add 2024 plus 700 years BCE, we would have an answer of 2,724 years. This is the estimation for how many years it has taken English to get where it is today from the base of Latin. Name at least 3 other languages that come from Latin. Many of the European languages stem from Latin. They all have their basis from the Latin language. Because Latin was believed to be formed first in Rome, Italy, these are called the Romance languages. Some of the Romance languages include Italian, Spanish, French, Portuguese, and many other languages spoken in Europe. How does English in England and America differ? This question has two main answers. The first answer is the accent in which we speak. You'll notice I have an American English accent, whereas if you listen to someone speak from a country in the UK, they will have a different accent. If you listen to someone from England speak, they are likely to pronounce their words much more differently than I pronounce them. Both are correctly spoken English, but we have different accents. The second way in which English in England and America differs is in our word usage. This is very common in speaking daily, where we use different words in different situations. For example, in America, we use an elevator to go from the first floor to another floor, or to go from a higher floor to a lower floor. We call this the elevator. To elevate means to raise. In England, you will hear people refer to the elevator as the lift. Lift is an action, it is a verb, in which you raise something from a low position to a higher position. But it is also referred to as an elevator in England. Another example of this is the back end of a car. The back end of a vehicle in American English, used for storage, is called the trunk. In England, people refer to the trunk or the storage compartment in the back of the vehicle as the boot. In England, it is referred to as the boot, where America it is referred to as the trunk. These two examples are only two of many. There are many other examples in which words are used differently in England and America. Can you name any dialects of your native language? Where do they come from, and what is different about it? Almost every language in the world has different dialects. Dialects come from different regions of a country or different regions of the world or social groups. Over time, the way that a language can be spoken can change. Words can be used differently between different areas. There are many examples of this worldwide. With my understanding of the Chinese language, for example, if you listen to someone speak from Beijing versus someone from Hong Kong, they will speak very differently. In Hong Kong, there is actually a different language that is also spoken. Just referring to Mandarin Chinese, the accents will sound very different between these two languages. This can also be found in Spain and Latin America, where the Spanish language can sound very different between these two regions. Individual countries in Latin America can also have major differences in how their language sounds, even though it all stems from the root of Spanish. Now we will begin talking about our vocabulary words. Our first word from the article is discussing. Discussing is talking about a subject in detail, typically to exchange ideas or reach a conclusion. What decisions should you discuss with others before deciding on? Making decisions are an important part of life. Often we need to discuss decisions with others to ensure that we are making a good decision. For example, if you're going out on the weekend to a restaurant with some friends, maybe you can discuss where you'd like to go. Maybe one of your friends is vegetarian and does not eat meat, so you'd likely not want to go to a steakhouse. Another example of a more serious discussion in life can be with a family member. For example, if you and your family are wanting to move, This is something you will want to discuss with your whole family as it will affect everyone's life. Give an example of a difficult discussion you have had before. In life, we all experience difficult discussions. One example of my own is at a workplace where a coworker did not agree with how I was doing my job, even though my manager discussed with me earlier that this was the correct way to do the job. Sometimes discussions have no conclusion where both parties are happy, but trying to resolve the conflict and move on is typically the best course of action. Our next vocabulary word is Western languages. So Western languages are languages originating from or primarily spoken in Western countries, typically including European languages and their derivatives. Often refers to languages from Europe, the Americas, and Oceania. So name 3 of the common Western languages. One of the more common Western languages that we are currently studying is English. English is a Western language because it originated in the Western hemisphere of the world. Another often spoken Western language includes Spanish. This is one of the most spoken languages worldwide, and it is a Western language because it is believed to have originated from the country of Spain. The final Western language I will be giving you an example of is French. French also originated from the country of France, stemming from the base language of Latin, making it a Western language. Name 3 of the common Eastern languages. In the Eastern hemisphere of the world, there are many different spoken languages. You have many different variations of these languages as well, known as dialects. Some of the more common Eastern languages include Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Vietnamese, Thai, Malay, and many others. The list goes on and on. These are considered Eastern languages because they originated in the Eastern hemisphere of the world. Formed. Formed means to be brought into existence, created, or developed. Can also mean shaped or molded into a particular form or structure. Name something in nature that is formed very slowly over time. One example found in nature of something that is formed very slowly over time is rivers. Rivers take a long time to form due to erosion. The water erodes away rock to make it larger and larger. A second example of something in nature that is formed very slowly is mountains. Mountains form because of plates under the earth colliding and pushing up higher and higher into the sky. This is something that takes a very long time to form and cannot be done over a short period of time. Do you form friendships with people quickly or slowly? Some people find themselves easily forming friendships in a very short period of time. Often these people are referred to as extroverts. An extrovert is someone who goes out of their way to speak to others and enjoys social interaction. They often find themselves at home, alone, bored, because they would like to talk to people. The other personality type is called an introvert. An introvert is someone that prefers alone time. Often they do not want to associate with other people on a regular basis. They do not need the same social stimulation that extroverts need. So which type do you think forms friendships more quickly? If you said extroverts, you are correct. they are more willing to talk to people and socialize, where introverts are often okay with being alone. Dialects. Dialects are varieties of a language that are characteristic of a particular group of speakers. Regional or social forms of a language with distinct vocabulary, grammar, or pronunciation. Can you name any dialects of your own language? Within English, there are many different dialects. For example, in America, we speak American English. In England English is spoken. If you go to other English-speaking countries, such as Ireland, the language will sound different in their accent and word usage. Why are dialects from a main language formed? Dialects are often formed from a main language due to social interaction between people in a regional area. Sometimes this can be religious, sometimes this can be based on the specific situation at a location, and sometimes this can be created through pop culture. Today, if you are on social media, you will often see slang words, maybe for your own language or for other languages. This is changing the way we speak a language. If it becomes part of our common spoken words, this can change our language over time. Vocabulary is the body of words used in a particular language, or the set of words known and used by a person or group. Why is learning vocabulary important to mastering a language? It is very important to learn vocabulary in order to master any language you wish to speak. Vocabulary is the basis of a language. It is how we are able to convey what we want to say and how we feel. Without vocabulary, there is no context to what the person would like to say. Do speakers know all of the vocabulary from their native language? This is a very good question that is very easy to answer. I do not believe anybody in their native language knows all of the vocabulary within their language. This is because many of us do not study the full extent of the language. For example, many words used many years ago within our language are not still spoken today. Thus, many people of modern times do not know how to use these words correctly. Another example of this is if you work in a very specific field. For example, if you work in the medical field as a doctor, you are going to be exposed to very high-level medical vocabulary that your average person will not be knowledgeable of. Digging deeper into this, within the medical field, there are many different types of medicine that can be studied. For example, someone could study mental health, where someone could study the human body. Many of the vocabulary will not be associated, thus, many of it will not be learned by the other doctor. Grammar. Grammar is the system and structure of a language, including rules for forming and combining words. The study of how words and their components combine to form sentences. Why is grammar important to learning a new language? Grammar is extremely important to learning a new language. It gives us the foundation of how to form a sentence within writing and speech. It also gives meaning to the words we say and how they are used. What is difficult about learning grammar in the English language? As an English teacher, one of the most common questions I get regarding grammar in English is how to use verb tenses. Verb tenses such as I will go to the store, I was going to the store, I will be going to the store, I will have gone to the store. These verb tenses change the meaning of what is being said, but they are also very difficult to understand for many people of different languages. Grammar structures vary drastically between different languages, making some speakers of certain native languages more difficult to learn other languages. Patterns. Patterns are regular and intelligible forms of sequences discernible in the way something happens or is done. And an easier way to say it is patterns are repeated designs or recurring arrangements. What are some common patterns found in nature? Some common patterns found in nature can include spots and stripes. Many of us learn about animals when we are younger, and one of the most commonly used animals when learning this different vocabulary includes zebras and cheetahs. Zebras have long black stripes, where cheetahs have black spots. These are patterns because they are repeated designs over the body of the animal. What are some common man-made patterns or patterns found in our lives? Some common man-made patterns can include different types of architecture, fashion, style, and design of different products. For example, houses in a certain area may have a certain style. Thus, they have patterns of what materials are used and how they are used to build the structure. Patterns found in our daily lives can include our daily schedule. If you wake up at the same time every day and go to work at the same time every day, you could say this is a pattern found in your life. Worldwide. Worldwide means extending or reaching throughout the world, occurring or existing all around the globe. Name some of the most famous items or products that are known worldwide. Some examples of some very famous items known worldwide include famous pieces of art, pop culture, and history. One of the most famous of these is the Mona Lisa, a painting created by the Italian artist Leonardo da Vinci. This is one of the most well-known items worldwide and is easily recognizable by people from all over. Some very well-known worldwide products might include McDonald's or Coca-Cola. These brands can be found in almost every country in the world where people from different countries are aware of the product as well as the logos or the advertising for the product. What are some inventions in recent history that have made traveling and communicating worldwide easier than ever before? Traveling around the world has never been easier than it is currently today. Before, if you wanted to go to another country on a different continent, unless you lived in Europe, Africa, or Asia, you would likely have to take a boat. This is because traveling over the ocean was very difficult. Today, with the usage of passenger planes, it is easier than ever to travel worldwide to different countries. Another invention in recent history that has made traveling more easy is the vehicle, or the car. The car has made traveling within our own countries easier than ever. If you go to another country, maybe you can rent a car or a taxi to see local sites there, even though you don't have a car in that country. Communicating worldwide is also now easier than ever before. For example, this podcast is now able to reach people all over the world due to the invention of the internet. The internet has allowed us to communicate with people all over the world through social media, as well as one-on-one through usage of apps like FaceTime or WhatsApp. It is now easier to communicate with people across the world than ever before. Now on to the discussion questions. You will find these discussion questions on the work page provided to you. If you'd like to answer them yourselves, please pause the video so you can try and complete this and then follow up by listening to my explanation of the question and the answers. Question number 1. Why is English considered one of the most widely spoken languages today? English is considered one of the most widely spoken languages today because people all around the world speak it. It is one of the most common spoken languages in the world. People from many different countries can speak this language and study it every day, and many people consider it the language of business, where business is conducted between people from different originating countries. Number 2, what is the connection between Latin and modern English? English is a Romance language, meaning that it stemmed from the original language of Latin. It is called Romance language because Latin originated in the city of Rome in Italy. Many other languages such as French, Italian, and Spanish are closely related to English because of Latin being the original spoken language in this area. Number 3, how did English spread to America and how did it change over time? English spread to America when England colonized North America. With them, they took the English language, where people who lived there spoke it on a daily basis. When America separated from England in 1776, the language began to change. People began speaking differently to distance themselves from England and the historical background of the colonialization found in America. It changed over time with the way words can be used and our accents. The examples given during the article included Americans will say elevator, where English people will use the word lift. Number 4, what are some differences between England English and American English? Can you think of any? As I said before, elevator is used as lift when being spoken in England. There are some other examples, including how words are spoken. The accents are very different in America compared to England. Even within their own countries, the accents can change depending on where you are at. Another example I can give you is a vehicle, the trunk of a vehicle, or the storage area for a vehicle at the end or the back end of the car. In America, we will refer to this part of the vehicle as the trunk, where in England, it is referred to as the boot. Number 5, why is it important to understand different dialects when learning a language? It is not necessary to learn different dialects when learning a language, but it helps your overall understanding of the language. Knowing that wherever you go, where that language is spoken, you can better understand the different words and grammar patterns that are used within that language. It also tells us a lot about the history and the local area that the language is being spoken. It can change over time due to the local culture and history in a certain area. Number 6, how do vocabulary and grammar influence how we speak and write in English? Vocabulary is very important to how we speak and write in English because it gives meaning to what we want to say. If we do not know a vocabulary word, it may be more difficult to explain what we want to say. Grammar also plays an important impact on languages. Different grammar patterns can change the meaning of what is being said to convey different ideas. So when studying a language, it is very important to not only learn the vocabulary of the language, but also the grammar to make sure you are using it correctly. Number 7, What does the term worldwide mean in the context of language? How does this apply to English today? When speaking of languages, worldwide languages may include English, Spanish, Chinese, and many others. If you go to areas all around the world, you may hear these different languages spoken because they are very common worldwide. Also, with pop culture, such as movies, music, we can hear different languages being spoken on a daily basis depending on what is popular at the time. How does this apply to English today? English is one of the most spoken languages worldwide. In many different countries, you can find schools where students go just to study English and how to use it. English is also considered the language of business, where people from two different countries can speak English to understand and convey their ideas. And that is the conclusion of our article. My suggestion to you is to reread the article. Highlight words you don't know or you don't know how to pronounce. Practice them until you feel confident with using them. Write a sentence for the vocabulary words provided after class. You can use the targeted vocabulary words in sentences and double check your work to see that you used it correctly. Then finally, you can reread the article again. Highlight any words you still don't know. If you are still having trouble understanding them, try translating them into your native language. To better understand how the word is used grammatically, you can also use a translating app to see how it is translated into your language to better understand it and its usage. To test your knowledge and understanding, you can use the provided article to see your comprehension level and understanding of what was learned today. The homework consists of multiple choice questions, true and false questions, vocabulary matching, and short answer questions. In part 4, the short answer section of the homework, answers will vary. You can listen to the podcast to see if you answered correctly by using the same example as I did. I did not give all examples that can be used in short answer questions. Often short answer questions can be opinion based, so there's often no right or wrong answer. Thank you all for listening today. I hope you enjoyed this learning resource. If you have any more recommendations of what you would like to hear in the future, please let me know by messaging me on any of my social medias, and I will prepare something to go over this topic that you wish to talk about. Thank you all so much, and I can't wait to see you in the next episode. Please look out for regular video updates on the YouTube channel, as well as my Instagram and my Patreon. To find today's free work page, please visit my Patreon at Teacher Nolan on Patreon. Thank you.